Hello and welcome to Rotted Reviews, and today I'm coming at you with a pretty quick review while I just kind of get ready and have to head out to work here. But I wanted to talk about a movie that I watched last night, the 2021 Les Stroud film, The Pit. Now, I gotta be honest, I am not a huge Les Stroud fan. However, in terms of those shows about survivalist nature, Bear Grylls, and so on and so forth, I would have to say that Les Stroud is towards the top of my list. I did enjoy the show Survivorman. I don't really believe that any measure of reality TV is fully unscripted, but his seemed to be, at the very least, the most grounded in reality. Didn't take a whole lot of chances, not a whole lot of flamboyant risk-taking. It was more about energy conservation, staving off boredom, simple tricks to basically wait for rescue. And I kind of dug that very sensible approach to survivalist tactics in nature. So this movie came across my plate, and I was kind of curious how well Les Stroud could pull off a fictional character. Written by Thomas 𝗘𝗶𝗃𝗀𝗀 and directed by Stacy Brown Jr., this movie finds Les Stroud playing the character of Danny Coyle, who is pretty much Les Stroud. He is a man that is a survivalist. He has a survivalist TV show, quite a successful one at that. But when this movie kicks off, we find him on a road trip with the director of the film, Stacy Brown Jr., as Aaron, an old army buddy of his, as they are catching up, reuniting, and going on a camping trip together. Unfortunately, things don't go quite as planned, and they find themselves in a pit. And then they have to survive. All right, so pretty simplistic. However, if you know me, you know that I am a fan of simplistic storytelling. Simple ideas executed very well. So this was a simple idea. Was it executed very well? Not in the slightest. This movie was god-awful terrible. Currently available to rent on YouTube, maybe elsewhere. I wouldn't recommend spending the money. I could say a whole lot of negative things about the camera work, the sound design, making it look in any way, shape, or form professional or polished. It just really does look amateurish and hackneyed. However, the big problem comes down to the director himself, but not necessarily as the director, more so as his Aaron character. It was the most insufferable, pain-in-the-ass, annoying character I've seen put to screen in a very long time, and I am serious about that. Every single thing about how Stacy Brown Jr. embodies this Aaron character is miserable, even before they get into the pit. And that's kind of the interesting thing about this, is this movie could have worked even with a limited budget, because I think that an interesting element of this would be how friends can turn on each other over the slow course of 85 some odd days they were trapped out there. And as food is dwindling, as the relationship is getting strained and so forth, how would they turn on each other? How would they manage to try and survive in contrast with one another? I think that could have been an interesting route. Instead, this Aaron character just turns out to be an asshole from step one of the hike. Way before they even get into the pit, he just has the attitude of everything is bullshit. Danny tells him that he's going to go ahead and gather up some firewood. He'll be back in a little bit. Why don't Aaron just go ahead and get the tent pitched? Tosses him the Walmart tent, goes out, does his thing, comes back, and Aaron has just completely fucked up the entire thing. He's frustrated. He's talking about how now there's holes in the tent and so on and so forth, and everything is bullshit.
I guess I'll put your fancy ass bullshit tent together. It requires instructions and poles while you walk around the woods being survival, man, looking at butterflies and squirrels fucking on the...
And maybe you should do it if you know so much, Survivorman. Every single element of this, especially in any aspect of what Danny is trying to accomplish, any aspect of this hike, even just coming down to smoking weed and relaxing, is met with derision by Aaron. There's no friendship to be found here. There's no relationship that could get strained in the presence of extreme survivalist notions, which would have been the interesting element of the relationship between these two characters. It would have been enough to potentially keep even a low-budget film interesting. But considering that things are so fractured, and considering that Aaron is such an asshole right from the beginning, makes it insufferable to watch.
A Survivalman TV show kit! $24.95! Let's see what's in this motherfucker, shall we? Oh, look at that! A rape whistle! I'm Survival Man! I'm getting raped!
It doesn't do any good to put your characters into potentially life-threatening situations when the audience is actively wanting them to die. And as far as Les Stroud playing Danny Coyle, there's just not a whole lot there. It's pretty much just playing himself through and through. I mean, I don't know how he would react in a completely, 85-day survivalist situation with another person who's just an antagonist throughout the entire thing and completely useless. But, I mean, so maybe there's the fictional element of the character there, but he's essentially just playing a survivalist TV host, hanging out with a friend, and in that he's trying to engage in the rules of survival, conservation of energy, planning ahead, organizing, keeping your mental wherewithal and so forth as they proceed to the next step, and always trying to keep your thoughts on the next strategic target. And so without knowing who Les is as a person, I would have to say that watching him go through the motions as his fictional Danny character was almost identical to watching him go through the motions as his character in the Survivorman TV show. I'm really not sure why Les Stroud is trying to make this transition over to fictional media, but it doesn't do a whole lot of good when you're essentially just playing yourself. At the very least, branch out more. In the end, I found this movie to be something that just was talking a whole lot and had absolutely nothing of real substance to say. There was nothing educational about it in any kind of survivalist aspect. There was nothing really interesting about it in any kind of human narrative or conflict. And because it was so uninteresting and the characters were so obnoxious that nothing about the narrative really worked, it made all the other blemishes as far as the camera work, the lack of budget, so on and so forth, really shine through. So I guess at this point, the question kind of becomes, is this movie so bad that it's good? Can this be watched with friends and just laughed at and popcorn thrown at the screen? I think on some level, yeah, maybe, but the characters, especially the Aaron character, are really just so insufferable and annoying that I think it would really test the resolve of even the most steadfast group of individuals wanting to laugh at a bad movie. This was a painful plot met with amateurish camera work and characters that you just wanted to die already. And in terms of watching a film about whether or not people will survive, that doesn't bode well. And because of all of that, I can honestly say that I really don't recommend the 2021 movie, The Pit. Thank you so much for joining me here today. I look forward to seeing you on my next video. Remember, next time you want to watch a horror movie, first make sure that it's good and rotted.